A friend of mine has asked me to make him a new axle for the front of his motorbike. And as part of that, I'm going to have to cut some threads on the lathe. So I thought I'd share with you the process and method that I use for screw cutting on the lathe. The method I'm going to use is what I would call a sort of intermediate method. It's a bit faster than the beginner's method, and it's a little bit less risky than the slightly more advanced method. I started by getting the shaft roughly to size before cutting the threads. So I've got my shaft turned down to its final dimensions, and we're going to cut a thread on this end here. We're going to cut a 60-degree thread, which is metric. So this little tool here has got an angle on the end of it that's 60 degrees. So the tool shape defines the teeth on the thread. I've cut a little groove in just here so that when I'm bringing the tool across, I've got a little safe space that I can stop the tool before it runs in to this next feature. For screw cutting, we want the machine running nice and slowly. Now for this machine, that's 35 to 180 RPM. Having the machine running nice and slowly means we've got more time to switch off the feeds before we crash the tool into the part. Next thing to set up is the threading gearbox. So we want the lead screw to be cutting a right hand thread towards the chuck, and we need to look up the thread pitch on the lookup table here. For this is a M14 by 1.5, so 1.5 pitch. Tells me that the selected set here needs to be BS6W, so that's BS6W. Finally, we need to set up the thread dial indicator. If I move the carriage back, you'll notice that this indicator, the numbers rotate. Okay? Now, that's determined by which of these gears is on the shaft. And to change them, you just undo this nut and select which gear you want. And then that gear meshes with the lead screw. And as the lead screw is turning, it turns the gear, turns the indicator. So we want to cut a 1.5mm pitch thread. So that means we need the gear with 16 teeth, and then there's this little number here, which on this case is numbers 1 to 8. The next one down, 1, 3, 5, 7. The next one down, don't confuse it, it's not 15, it's 1 and 5. What that means is when we want to cut the thread, we can engage